Welcome to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. I'm your host, Molly Watts. If you want to change your drinking habits and create a peaceful relationship with alcohol, you're in the right place. This podcast explores the strategies I use to overcome a lifetime of family alcohol abuse, more than 30 years of anxiety and worry about my own drinking, and what felt like an unbreakable daily drinking habit. Becoming an alcohol minimalist means removing excess alcohol from your life so it doesn't remove you from life. It means being able to take alcohol or leave it without feeling deprived. It means to live peacefully, being able to enjoy a glass of wine without feeling guilty and without needing to finish the bottle. With science on our side, we'll shatter your past patterns and eliminate your excuses. Changing your relationship with alcohol is possible. I'm here to help you do it. Let's start now. Well, hello and welcome or welcome back to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast with me, your host, Molly Watts, coming to you from, it is a very manageable Oregon that I am talking to you from. I have been on the road and on the go for the last 3 weeks, and I really feel like I am just so ready to be home. And I'm going to explore that a little bit more in this week's episode. But I'm saying it's a manageable Oregon because it's not too cold. It's not too hot. It's not raining. It's not sunny. It's just kind of out there. And that's very manageable for me right now. So that's what the weather feels like. Last week, my episode came to you from Buffalo, New York, and I am back here in Portland, Oregon. We have been doing a month-long series called the March Madness series, and I've been talking and using basketball as an analogy, and we're going to continue right on through that into today's episode. And today we are talking about rebounding. And I got to tell you, this episode is coming at a very real and personal time for me. Over these last 3 weeks, I've been in what I would describe as a state of dysregulation. I had a work retreat and then a vacation and then a work conference, all back to back to back. And that meant travel, it meant extra social occasions, it meant late nights, novelty, and very little structure, at least not the kind of structure that I have on a day-to-day basis at home. And during that stretch, just going to be completely honest, I did not maintain my typical low-risk alcohol limits. I had far fewer alcohol-free days than I usually do, and I allowed more in-the-moment decisions. I just drifted. And I drifted in a way, to be completely frank, that is very different than any other drifting that I've done over the last 6 years. It was because it was just a longer spell. Like, I've been on vacations and I've gone, on a week-long vacation and maybe drifted a bit. But this kind of felt like a major, I talk about don't let a slip become a slide. This felt like a slide. Now, I say that not because I had lots of hangovers or lots of extra, big days of drinking. That isn't it. It was just noticeable to me. What was most noticeable to me was my lack of alcohol-free days or consecutive alcohol-free days. And, the important part of all of it is that I noticed it, I understand it, I'm okay with it, and I'm ready to rebound, which is exactly what the rebounding part of this conversation is about. When I look at what actually happened, it's important that I don't just oversimplify it. It wasn't just more social drinking. There was a full environmental shift. I wasn't sleeping in my own bed, and that matters more than we often acknowledge. When you are in a different bed, even if it's comfortable, your nervous system doesn't settle as deeply. Sleep becomes lighter, and that restorative factor of sleeping is compromised. And when sleep is compromised, stress tolerance decreases. I also didn't have access to my typical alternative beverages. At home, many of you know, I keep options stocked like non-alcoholic beer and some adaptogen drinks, and they make alcohol-free evenings feel, more abundant. They are definitely more intentional, and I definitely like to have those alternative beverages on hand. I talk a lot about setting yourself up for success. I just had a coaching call today. I was talking with one of my clients, and she really acknowledged the fact that she was resistant prior to our coaching work on putting in some adaptogenic drinks and looking for alternatives or mocktails or what you might call it. But she's done that now, and she really realizes how much it supports her in terms of her long-term success. And it's not like I didn't have options, right? There was certainly water, there was certainly soda, etc., but I didn't have access to a vehicle all the time, and I didn't have I don't know my surroundings as well, right? So I can't just run to the grocery store. And when I'm home, of course, I don't have to think about what I'll drink instead because it's already there. And when I travel, all of that, that stuff, those cues, that structure that I have at home, it disappears. Our brain is incredibly contextual. It links behaviors to environments. And when the environment shifts, your behavioral cues shift with it. Add to that the novelty of travel, which increases dopamine, the social connection of retreats and conferences, which also increase dopamine. You suddenly have a reward-rich environment that is layered on top of fatigue and stress intolerance. And in those moments, the in-the-moment decisions feel easier than pre-decisions. That's not weakness, that's physiology meeting context. Hey, just a quick break to talk with you for a minute about Sunnyside. You hear me talk about it on the show often, and it really is my number one recommendation for a mindful drinking app. People use this tool in my groups, in my classes, and they tell me all the time how much they really appreciate the fact that Sunnyside is a very positive reinforcement. And what I mean by that is that when you track your drinks, and let's just say you planned for one drink and you ended up having two. If you're honest and you track that second drink, you're not going to get a message that shames you in any way or reprimands you. You're actually going to get positive reinforcement for tracking a drink that you didn't plan on, and some ideas and some suggestions for maybe going and grabbing a snack or getting some water. Sunnyside is like having a coach in your pocket, and I love that. You can try it for a 15-day free trial. Go to www.sunnyside.co/Molly to get started today. So, when drinking frequency increases over a few weeks, even within socially acceptable norms, your brain starts to adapt, which is exactly what happened for me. The GABA glutamate cycle becomes more frequent. You calm the nervous system artificially in the evening and then experience more rebound activation overnight. Dopamine spikes become more regular, which strengthens anticipation pathways. The expectation of drinking becomes more normalized again. And because I wasn't necessarily sleeping well, my nervous system was already more sensitive. So what I felt wasn't just more drinking, it was layered dysregulation. That's an important distinction because Rebound isn't about punishing yourself for being human. It's about recognizing when your nervous system has drifted and bringing it back to stability, to a more stable feeling. In basketball, rebounding happens after a missed shot, The game does not pause so you can replay the mistake in your head. The ball is still live. You either step in, regain control, and reset the play, or you allow momentum to continue in the wrong direction. Rebounding is not about perfection. It's about response. And there was a brief moment when I looked at the last 3 weeks and felt disappointed. Not ashamed, but aware. Aware that I had moved further from my baseline than I prefer. Aware that I had allowed novelty, environment, fatigue to drive more of my decisions than intention had. But instead of letting that disappointment turn into self-criticism, I got curious. What actually happened? What were the variables? What needs to shift? How can I set myself up for success? Quite honestly, I hope that I'm never gone again for 3 weeks on and on and on. Or, I wasn't gone for full 3 weeks. I was home for a day, gone for, 5, home for a day, gone for 9, home for a day, gone for another 5, something like that. But it felt like I was completely out of pocket, out of my normal routine for sure. The thing that needs to shift, and the reason that it's so important to get curious, is because curiosity regulates and shame dysregulates. And regulation comes first. My rebound plan, my rebounding efforts are simple and aligned with who I am at baseline. This week, I am committing to 5 alcohol-free days. That fits my mostly alcohol-free lifestyle that I typically have. It aligns with my low-risk parameters. It's not extreme, it's not reactive, it's just a return. First, I have to stabilize. So I sleep in my own bed, right? That's a big one, and yay-hoo, it already feels so much better. I got to hydrate, I got to move my body, I got to return to consistent meals. That's another thing, man. When you are out and traveling, it just not having, just being at the whims of eating out all the time is just hard. It just definitely doesn't lead to consistency for me, at least. And definitely reestablishing that pattern and just my basic home rhythm is something that I'm really looking forward to. And then I got to interrupt this recent pattern. Streaks matter. When you drink more frequently for a stretch, your brain begins to expect that rhythm. And I definitely felt my brain doing that. When you intentionally insert alcohol-free days, you weaken that expectation and you restore flexibility. Neuroplasticity works both ways. And I'm looking forward to that recalibration. The other part of rebounding is strategy. It's strategy for next time. Next time I enter a season of travel or high novelty, I need to pre-decide more clearly. I will choose specific alcohol-free days even during conferences, and I will either research or bring my own alternative beverage options so I'm not relying on whatever happens to be available. I will prioritize sleep more deliberately, even if that means leaving events earlier. It might also mean that I'm going to need to bring some sleepy time tea with me, right? It might mean that I'm going to have to up my magnesium in the evening. Pre-decision reduces dopamine-driven in-the-moment choices. And that's not restriction, that's planning for the reality of how the brain works. So yes, I drifted, and that's okay. Drifting during this 3-week stint is human. What matters is that I noticed it. What matters is that I'm not spiraling into a story about what it means. What matters is that I'm calmly returning to my baseline, and I'm genuinely looking forward to it because I know how much better I feel when I am aligned with my mostly alcohol-free lifestyle. I know what stable sleep feels like. I know what reduced negotiations with myself feel like. I know what calm consistency looks like. It's not punishment, that's alignment. And strength is not never drifting. Strength is noticing the difference and adjusting without drama. Now, if you've had a stretch recently where you drifted because of travel, because of stress, because of celebration, grief, you name it, I want you to say this out loud. I drifted, and that's okay. Then ask yourself, what does my rebound look like? Regulate first, interrupt the streak, return to baseline, and plan differently for next time. You are not defined by a few off-plan weeks. You are defined by how you respond to it. In basketball, missed shots are inevitable. Rebounding wins seasons. I drifted, and that's okay. I'm rebounding, and I am genuinely looking forward to it. The game absolutely isn't over unless you walk off the court, and I'm still very much in this game. And so, until next time, choose peace, and I will see you on Thursday. Thanks for listening to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. Take something you learned from this week's episode and put it into action. Changing your drinking habits and creating a peaceful relationship with alcohol is 100% possible. You can stop worrying, stop feeling guilty about overdrinking, and become someone who desires alcohol less. I work with people in 2 different ways, and you can learn about them over at my website. Go to www.mollywatts.com/workwithme or reach out to me directly. Shoot me an email, molly@mollywatts.com. We'll jump on a call and decide what might work best for you. This podcast is really just the beginning of our conversation. Let's keep it going. If there's one thing I know, it's that change is way easier when you stop trying to do it alone.